Hey guys, I've been doing a lot of videos of traditional knives that are from GEC, but I figured today I'd show you one of my favorite knives from Case. This is a Case Saddlehorn, and the handle cover materials on here are what they call toxin, and I believe it's a type of acrylic. And it seems very similar to kryptonite acrylic that GEC has used in their knives before. Not sure if it comes from the same company or not. But as you can see, it's kind of light green with some black streaks going through. And of course, all acrylic with these kind of patterns is going to be unique. So it's going to be different on not just the two sides of the covers, but also from knife to knife. It's going to be different and unique. So this is the Case Saddlehorn, and it's normally a two-bladed knife. They have some single-bladed with the clip point only. I have a video actually with the Green Apple Saddlehorn that's a single blade, but this is typically what you see with the Saddlehorn with the two blades. You have one clip and one drop point or Skinner blade. Give you a size comparison. This is a GEC number 15 Tom's Choice Barlow. So they're about the same length. So it's a, small to medium sized traditional knife. Not very teeny, but it's not a very large traditional knife as well. So it's very pocket friendly. It's just a little bit wider at the butt end of the Saddlehorn. That's kind of the unique feature of the Saddlehorn, is that swooping handle towards the back where it gets longer. It's a double bolstered. You have the bolsters here at the top of the pivot, as well as those end caps, I guess you call that. Now, fit and finish on it is pretty good. Case does a very good job at doing a smoothing out all the handles and the bolsters. You don't really catch anything there. Now, it's different than a GEC in many ways in the fact that the walk and talk on a Case and just overall all the qualities of it, the overall fit and finish is usually better on a GEC. But the cases are pretty good, and these are cheaper. This one comes in, what did I see this on? I think I found this on Amazon. This was on Amazon for about $46. So yeah, it's a lot cheaper than you're going to find a GEC for. Two-bladed, well, this is a Tom's Choice Barlow, but if you look at a normal number 15 two-bladed, you're probably thinking about $80, $90. So, but different construction, similar construction in a sense that you can still have covers, and well, this is all steel, but yeah, brass liners, nickel silver bolsters, all that. But of course this is coming out of Case factory, so they're both USA made. But when you compare this to a GEC, well, it's really hard to explain without actually holding both of the knives and opening and closing them and looking at all the details to really understand. But yeah, overall there's nothing catching on here. Not sure if you'll be able to tell, but there's little gaps in the back here. So a little hairline gap there. And that's stuff that you will see more on cases, on Case knives. GECs tend to get that right most of the time, but that's one of the flaws that Case has, is that sometimes there'll be little gaps in there. Doesn't mean a knife won't function, but when you look at this and you look at a GEC, you can definitely tell that there's a difference. Now it has a standard Case shield here, and unlike GECs, this is not riveted in or pinned in like GECs. So I think this is just glued in, I believe. But everything is nice and flush, and you're not catching anything. All these pins are nice and smoothed out. The blades are pretty centered. The back spring termination is pretty good. Let's take a look at this. So this is the main blade here, and this actually has half stops. A lot of cases tend not to have half stops, but in the Saddlehorn, you actually have half stops. So that's your snap, or your walk and talk on this. It's not bad, but you know, listen to. I'm not sure how well that's coming through the camera, but there is a difference there. And of course, these are not as heavy springs as you would usually find in a GEC. The pulls on these are maybe like around a 4 or so. They're not very heavy. And it doesn't sound bad, but when you compare it to a GEC, it's really, really hard to prefer this walk and talk to a GEC. But yeah, the main blade that usually, it essentially has 2 main blades because they're about the same length. But the blade on this is a clip point, and these are not 1095 steel. This is a what they call case, I think, surgical stainless. So it's a stainless steel. They also have what they call the CV, which is, I believe, close to a 1095. Blades aren't terrible, but they're nice polished. Case does a pretty good job polishing knives. You have a good nail nick to access the blades. And of course you have stampings on the blade with the case, with the XXX, which was, I think, the original way of showing that it was heat treated. I think, what does that say? It says USA. I think that's a model number below it. I'm not as familiar with cases model number systems. An SS for stainless steel. It would say CV if it was the steel that's closer to 1095 high carbon steel. Alright. So yeah, you have second blade, which is a drop point Skinner blade. And one thing that case sometimes does is they kind of round these tips off, which if you look at GEC's factory tour, they actually have a tip protector on the blades that is in the front of the piece of metal that stays on most of the time. But case sometimes, because of the way that they do their finishing, there's not as much of a point there. But it's a nice functional clip point there. Then that drop point Skinner, it's got kind of a swoop there towards the tip. So these are still really nice, and they're of course made in the USA, which is good. I think that why I like this one so much is because of those handle covers, which are that what they call toxin acrylic. Really neat. So yeah, I think that if you don't want to spend as much money on a GEC and you still want a pretty cool traditional case, the way to go. And these are much easier to find. I mean, you can find these on Amazon pretty readily, and yeah, it's much easier to find these. They make these in much larger quantities than GECs. Yeah, that's the case, Saddlehorn, and toxin green covers there. So if you have any comments, leave them down below. Like and subscribe for more videos. And as always, thanks for watching.